Come join the Geek Drums Nation. What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. In today's video, we will be talking about the latest episode of Superman and Lois entitled The Dress. Now, if you are new here, please subscribe. Please subscribe, like this video, share it around with your friends, and I hope you come back again. This episode. Now, let me start off by saying this may have been one of the best episodes of the season. Now, it is heavy subject matter, I should say. It's a very heavy subject dealing with the cancer, but the cancer storyline does not outshine everything else that's going on. It was well balanced. Every character bounced around the main plot, which I loved. It's something that they did in the earlier episodes. There was no Kyle, there was no Chrissy this week. I honestly did not miss them. They were not needed. The kids storyline, I loved every minute of the kids storyline. We can start with that. Actually, you know how I do in my reviews, guys. I don't follow it verbatim of the episode. I bounce around. The kids, John and Jordan are still having their little sibling spat, and now they're trying to help Nat get over the whole Mateo thing. Jonathan even puts his foot in his mouth one or two times, but at the end of the whole thing, he comes through for Nat. He arranges a meeting with Mateo, so Mateo and Nat can talk, so they can see where their heads are with this whole situation. And Mateo even reveals to Nat that her father has been keeping him from being able to see his mother, which is something Nat did not know. Nat's being kept in the dark about a lot of things. Nat is being kept on a not even proverbial leash. Nat is being kept on a leash. She doesn't have her phone. She can't go anywhere without his supervision. I understand to a degree why he is doing that, but at the same time, it's a little bit overhanded. I get it because I have daughters, but you can tell that Mateo doesn't know anything, and Nat wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's a parent thing. I get it. It's a parent thing. I get it. So yeah, I loved that. I also loved that John and Jordan eventually do reconcile with each other. They hug it out. Hopefully there won't be any more side remarks. They've been doing that throughout the whole season, making those little snippy remarks at each other, stuff siblings do. But hopefully they work that out because it's bigger things to worry about than their little sibling spats. So yeah, the kids stuff this week, I give that a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was well written and it fit within the episode. It really did fit. Now with Lana was great this week. The advice, being able to just talk to Lois and get her to somewhat understand. Lana, it was a woman thing, and I liked that. It was well written. I loved the whole conversation between Lana and Lois when they were in her room, and she was just telling her about her worries about having the mastectomy. Yes, Lois has to have a mastectomy. She knew about the surgery, but it's just ongoing worry in the back of her mind. And seeing the dress that Clark had got her all those years ago for that award ceremony, all those years ago, even though she did not win, Clark made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world in that moment. He bought her a dress. He traded his baseball cards. Cal Ripken, he traded his baseball cards just to save up enough money to buy her that gift and just make her feel like the only woman in the world. And Lana understood that. And yes, it was a touching moment. This episode had a lot of touching moments, did not miss a beat. I would give this episode a 10 out of 10, guys. I would give this episode a 10 out of 10. It was a good episode. Now, with the whole cancer thing, we start out the episode, aside from the wonderful flashbacks, we start out this episode and they are they are meeting with Lois's doctor, and they said the scans are coming back good. They're hopeful that they're going to have some, good news. Only one more chemo session, basically, and then, before the surgery. So they're being optimistic, but we see throughout the episode that Lois is, Clark goes in to kiss her. She's like, I'm just not feeling good. She's pulling back apprehensive. We find out why, and it's because she is worried about the surgery. Rightfully so. Clark does understand, but this version of Clark and Lois, they're like, perfect. Bitsy and Tyler are the perfect Clark and Lois, perfect Superman and Lois. This episode, the title was this episode. No one outshined the other. Honestly, Bitsy deserves an award for this role, for this episode alone. It was excellent, guys. It was excellent. I don't care what anybody else says. I was glued to the screen the entire time, especially because of Bitsy and because of Tyler and how he's handling all of this. Now, with all of this, human thing dealing with this disease, you also have to deal with the other side of it with Bruno. Bruno wants to see his wife. The DOD, rightfully so, they're apprehensive because Pia is a meta-human murderer who's been killing people. And they just tried to kill John Henry Irons right in the middle of the street. So John Henry, he spearheads this whole negotiation thing, and he's taking it personal. It's a personal thing. Rightfully so, went after his doppelganger sister, then attacked him and that on the street. It's personal. Now, all they want is all the stuff that Bruno took. Bruno is apprehensive about giving it back because we know why. Bruno needs it because he's trying to figure out how to cure Pia. We find out more on that later on in the episode, but he's trying to figure out how to cure Pia, and he doesn't want to just hand over all that stuff. But Clark thinks that he can get through to Bruno because he's dealing with the same thing, having a sick spouse, having a spouse with cancer. John, however, does not care. So we have a butting of heads, a butting of brothers, if you get what it reminds me of the Oliver and Diggle situation. Or even Cisco and Barry, when the main two heroes, when the main two, I wouldn't even know how to say it. Like when your main two heroes of the show, when they butt heads, they're not seeing eye to eye. I hope they don't come to blows about this situation, but I could see that. And especially with what happened at the end of the episode, John is spiraling. I understand why to a degree, but what he did towards the end of the episode, I think it was another way to have done that. We'll get to that shortly, though. So Clark is steady trying to tell John, let me handle it. Let me talk to him. It even gets to a point where he's actually negotiating with Bruno. He's getting somewhere. He's getting somewhere with Bruno. And John barges in with DOD soldiers. And that's when General Lane realizes, oh, you knew Clark was here. You knew that he was going to try to talk to him, but you didn't care. You made this a personal thing. So they pull John off, rightfully so. Even John got into a whole fight with some of Bruno's goons, like in the town square of Smallville, like on that main street. He got into a fight. That's another thing I liked about this episode. Like I was shocked that the civilians were seeing all of this and they were not running. Like, of course, things have happened in this town, but not like this. Not like this. And it was crazy to just see how the civilians were sitting there and how they were reacting to it. It was really cool, especially when John just beat up all of those goons with the electric cattle prod baton, whatever you want to call it. It packed a lot of juice, and he had it on that for protection because his suit is still damaged from the fight in the last episode 2 weeks ago. So yeah, basically John's not having a good day this entire episode at all. He's been spiraling because he doesn't know what's gonna happen next. This whole Bruno Mannheim thing is personal to him, especially since it now involves his daughter. He does not trust Mateo because that is Bruno Mannheim's son. We also see Bruno going through the same thing with Mateo. He's forbid Mateo from talking to Nat, from seeing Nat. He's trying to keep Mateo calm. Mateo is calling him out on his BS and what he has not told them. Mateo found it crazy that his mom even had powers. So I guess we can assume Mateo does not have powers, or he either has not grown into them yet. We don't know how meta powers work on this earth. We get to the end, towards the end of the episode, and Bruno wakes up Henry Miller, sends Henry Miller after John. Now, they have an entire fight. Of course, John's suit is still busted. He's trying to fight Henry off the best that he can. Clark overhears this, rushes out, comes in, does an amazing superhero landing punch on Henry Miller. They scrap it out in the middle of Main Street. They're tearing that whole block up. They're tearing it up. Civilians are running. I wonder if any civilians were hurt in the fight. I hope not. But at the end of the whole fight, John Henry calls his kinetic hammer and he upswings it and breaks Henry Miller's neck. Henry Miller is dead. John has killed Henry Miller, and Superman flies back after being knocked away, and he says there's always another way. John says he didn't have a choice, and Clark is giving him this look like, dude, you went too far. Superman doesn't kill, so I understand this. Now I wonder where that's going to leave the two of them. This even caught Nat off guard. When she gets home, she says, Dad, you killed a man tonight. So I wonder where this is going to leave John. Will he still be a hero after all of this is said and done? It also makes me wonder, will he get the classic suit now that his suit is damaged? But we've seen that suit damaged before. That's neither here nor there. That's just a side thought that I had. But yeah, guys, At the end of the episode, the very end of the episode, we see Bruno take Mateo to his secret lab, which is, I believe it looked like it was attached to the house. But he tells Mateo that Bizarro Superman may hold the cure to Pia's cancer. Now, how will that work? Is he just using Bizarro for his blood, his DNA, or something? Or I was under the impression that he was going to wake Bizarro up and use Bizarro to beat up regular Superman. There is the train, guys. The train is coming. But guys, that's right at 5 o'clock. But guys, if you But guys, if you liked this episode, if you liked what happened, let me know down below what you think. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, turn on the alert bell, and subscribe. And I will catch you all in the next video. The Flash is ending once and for all, bringing this Arrowverse chapter of our lives to a close. That video will be posted tomorrow. It will be very, very emotional, but let's enjoy this series finale. It's been a wonderful ride, and I'll catch you guys next time.